thanks Andrew, that's a great presentation. Again, it's got some local wine and a few bottles, so I hope you enjoy that. We'll just keep moving. We've run a bit late. I've been holding up this last week.
We've also pushed lunch back 15 minutes, so we'll be right back.
Thanks. I've got the pleasure of introducing Mick Taylor from the MLA. Mick's role at Meat and Livestock Australia focuses on improving feed-based quality and resource use sustainably, developing projects, research to improve understanding of the feed base with particular attention to soil, persistent pasture, weeds and nitrogen. And we get quite a lot of funding from MLA for our projects that we have running at the moment, so we're always willing to cooperate with MLA. So, Mick will discuss the outlook from an MLA perspective. Thank you very much.
So thank you for the invitation to come down today. As mentioned, Mick Taylor. I'm not from Scotland, Western Australia, or Victoria. I'm from Queensland. So if you're going to be talking to me over the next day or so, please talk slowly and use little words. I don't understand what you're saying. My role is in feed base. Some of you who've been in the industry for a long time will probably be aware of a guy called Perennial, who is the font of all knowledge and research in feed base. I'm his minion, and I work in the adoption of it. So MLA is broken into three components. We talk about using the research to develop solutions, the adoption component to get it into farm and then into practice. We also have a marketing component. Now, like the people this morning, Rob gave us a bit of a curve. We wanted to talk about things that we probably don't all know about. I was speaking to him this morning, he was in the same boat. So we're looking at, today we'll talk about some of the risks and the way that we're managing some of the risks that are coming over the horizon all the time. And rather than going down and looking at the commodity risk per se, we're going to look at the things like vegans and activists and social licence and things like that. Now, I'll just premise the saying that I'm going to speak a little bit about some of the market drivers that are going to get us into this position and out of the position. Just talking about the pork there a minute ago. But I'll just make sure I'm not fully into the market stuff. We have people in our business that do that. But there's a couple of slides I will show that will allude to the market and the potential impacts of the pork disease or breakdown of swine flu. But what I do want to point out, and I do it with all the presentation, if you haven't been on the website for MLA and you haven't seen the My MLA website, I strongly advise you to go and have a look at it. Is anyone on My MLA using it already? There's a few hands going up. So My MLA it's a free to access, it's for producers, and you can actually tailor it to your property, your market and your vision for where you're going. So it's quite an intuitive tool, and in the next couple of years it's going to be at the centre of what we do in extension and adoption and research, getting real life feed into you. And in the next couple of years it's going to start being intuitive, it's going to start picking up on what your interests are and promoting new research. So if you're talking about phosphorus or you're interested in nitrogen or new species, and you've clicked on those and you've been reading about them or participating in training, it's going to start pushing information down to you. So if you're not on My MLA already, please get and have a look at it, and you need a hand to set it up and see how it goes. So I'm here for the next day. So it's a very good tool, and it is going to be at the centre of what we do in the next few years going forward. Technology and information speed is changing rapidly, and we're just at the beginning of it. So this is a really good gateway. Quite often I hear people say how bad the MLA website is for finding information. This is hopefully to the way that we can actually get this tailored to your needs based on what you put into that own portal, your own page on the website. So on to the presentation. So we're talking about risk management, and in our position we're sort of governed by the red meat industry to deliver, as I said, research and extension and adoption and marketing to promote our products and create market gain and access, more productive farming and things like that. But one one of the issues that we've got coming on at the moment is we know there's a continuum growth. Like we've got things that are all around in the global market that is causing flux either way. We're getting the positives and the negatives of that. One of the big drivers at the moment, we've seen that for years and years, the pork and chicken have been outstripping beef and lamb for a long time. That's a known. We've seen that happening. The outlay of pork at the moment doing a bit of a spiral. We don't exactly know where it's going to go, but you know there's some lot smarter people than me working on it. But at the moment, there's options there that look pretty positive. There's changes in the Brexit. These world of changes is always happening. So what I want to really look at though is in the flux of it. If you draw a line through it, what we've really got is a growing global community. By 2050, we're going to add another 2 billion people to our global community. With that growth of the community, we've got also growth in the middle class, with around about 36 million people joining the middle class in the next 20 years. So whilst we've got this flux and ebb and flow of things that happen in small cycles, we do also have a consistent of that our products that we produce here have got a market going ahead. The market's changing though. It's not always going to be our age group that's buying it. And some of the research we're doing is finding what that next generation looks like. What do they want? What do they look like? We're not just talking about Aussie kids, we're talking about European markets, Asian markets, things like that. But one of the things we see with this population and the changing demographic and what people need is if we're staying static, we're going to be sort of left with sort of broken pathways forward. So MLA is setting in place a lot of projects and projects now about the research level for us at this level for farming to increase productivity, but also in the background we're doing a lot of market research, talking to consumers and placement. We've got about 8 external agencies. We're sitting over we've got Korea and we've got Japan and we've got Europe and in America and all that. So a lot of that research is happening overseas, as well as desktop assessment, looking at the rhythms of how we do things. Now, coming out of the research we're doing at the moment is, particularly in a changing demographic, when we look at the age group we have here today, now we are the ones that are the bread earners, the breadwinners. We financially run the household and things like that. What we're looking at the next generation that's coming through is a different mindset. So how I grew up with buying 250, 300, 400, 450 gram steak, that's not what the next generation is going. We're starting to eat different cuts. As you go off into the different parts of the world, we're seeing smaller serves, different parts of the beast being consumed and things like that. What we're also finding is that the generation that's coming through after us, the sort of the 15 to 30-year-olds now who will be the serious breadwinners when I'm in a home and eating stuff through a straw, they aren't eating the way that we're eating, and we need to be rid of it. They have different concerns to what we have. We grew up looking at certain parts of the market and our environment based on our opinions and our experiences. This next generation is coming through and looking at it in a very different way with a very different learning outcomes. So one of the interesting bits that we've been finding out with the growth of this new generation is the growth of social media. Now, in Australia, globally, there's about 9 billion mobile phones. So there's actually more mobile phones in the world than there is people. There's around about 20% more. So it picks up the ones who've got 2 phones and things like that. So just out of interest, who's got a smartphone in the room? Who's got 2 smartphones? Yeah. So what we're finding with the smartphones, it's a double-edged sword. We can find out a lot about our markets and the next generation and how things look and what they do and all that. It's really good. Some of the stats behind phones is pretty staggering. Out of that 90 billion phones, it's nearly 30 billion people are on social media. That's an incredible number. Now that 30 billion, now using some examples from the technology acknowledgement now that some of the technology data we've been able to access. There's 9 million photos a day go up on Instagram. That's just crazy. 500,000 go up on Twitter in a single hour. These are photos and quotes and things like that. Some people even run the world by, or their state or country by using Twitter, which is a pretty alarming sort of way to do it. But one of the other numbers is around about 30% of the people who are on social media are taking product reviews, and they're purchasing on using the same phone. They're paying the bills, they're purchasing goods and commodities. A double-edged sword of this is that whilst you get a good understanding of what the people are talking about, where the trends are, what they're interested in, it also gives voice to micro-minorities, minorities that might represent 2 or 3 or 5% of the industry, of the community, but are very vocal about it. So when we're talking about so many phones being out in the back pocket when we're driving around, whether it's you having it in the pocket or me or an activist, all of a sudden that's 9 billion camera journalists that are out there, and they can pick up on the things that interest them, the things that don't interest them, the things that scare them, or the things that they want to promote. And context is everything, as we know. So whilst we're getting some good intel on what our next generation and our customers look like and what they want and what they need, we're also exposing ourselves to activism and some threads of disingenuous marketing, I guess is the best polite way of putting it. So MLA has been sort of working in this space a lot. It's not just MLA, there's a lot of people that have been aware of it. You've seen the news where we've got activists tying themselves to things and gluing themselves to other things and filling the time. And it's pretty scary to think of. I've been in Brisbane, we've just had the Adani coal protest, and we've had we're doing it on Friday afternoon. Everyone's trying to get out of the city, which is probably a great ploy if you're an activist, but not so good if you're trying to get home after a week in the city. But they're causing social disruption, and that sort of stuff is based on the fact that they believe they have something they want to be heard, and the social media platform is a very good way of doing that. The research is telling us, though, that not every single person that's out there is an activist that's going to do that. Yes, they're causing troubles. If you've seen the media, you've seen people who are driving this sort of thing, turning up on farms. There's a guy who woke up one morning and found 95 people dressed in spray suits standing in his paddock, which would be a bit of an alarming thing. And you talk to groups like this and you say, well, what would you do? If you woke up and you open the window and here's all these fellas in your paddock, and I hear what producers say, at the pub and what they do, but in reality, you really need to think about, on the off chance it does happen, what is your plan? So there is a bit of having to think about who you're going to call, who's going to be, what are you going to film, have the numbers ready for your support group, and do it while you're not under duress. Do it now while you put down some key points, who your numbers are, call your neighbours and things like that. That's a real part of what producers in Queensland and northern New South Wales are now, because they're close to that group where it happened and they've been burnt. I think it's a pretty good story. So just in the back of your mind, make sure you have got a plan if the odd chance something like that does happen. But one of the main things that's come out of all this social marketing and threats to the environment is some of the fake meat stuff. We've heard about the plant-based meat and also the lab-based meat. Now, sorry, I was one slide behind. With the labs, with the Franken foods or whatever you want to call it, there's quite a bit of research going in, there's a lot of money going to it. But what the research is telling us based on past history, the plant-based food isn't something that's new. We've had soy, we've had bacon made out of lentils, we've had all these different things. And it's basically a plant-based replacement. It is not beef, it's not trying to be beef, it's just trying to look and feel a little bit like for those people who aren't eating it. Generally we're not, the industry isn't overly concerned. We're seeing that vegetarian numbers aren't growing, that they are basically fairly static. They're sitting around about 7% of the audience. Some people go off and venture and try it for a while and come back hungry, so they get back into the meat again. it's not a big concern, but it's feeding in. Most of we find that when we went deep into the information that we could find, around about 5% of the community is eating these fake plant-based products regularly. So it's not a big amount. The real game changer is the lab-based meat, because it is meat, it's just created in a different way. And the leverage that they're using to get it into that new generation of people who are worried about things, about their carbon footprint and how they live and their health and their wealth and the cost of buying products, is quite a good doorway to them. The lab grown, it's almost like an incubator. You put a couple of cells in and over and let it fester away, a little bit like brewing beer, and you end up with a replacement. And at the moment, the cost of doing a patty is around about $200,000 per patty, so outside our league. It was $300,000 a year ago, but they're suggesting that it'll be $20 a patty within the next year or so. So with anything like that, when the price comes down, it does become a real concern. And it is meat, it's just grown in a different way. But they are appealing to those people who are concerned, or the flexitarians as we call them in the industry. The flexitarians are people who sort of hybrid between, they don't want to quite be a vegetarian because they like meat, but they don't want to be, they want to cover their footprint and sleep well at night with their carbon footprint and all that. Now, we don't know, there's not enough market research on what this is going to look like in the industry, but we're taking it as a serious threat. But the things that actually get people involved in the fake or the lab meat is things we're already doing. They want clean, they want reliable, they want eating quality, they want to know on environmental and welfare stuff. We're already doing a lot of that, but we haven't been doing it in the manner so much that we're recording it consistently. So MLA's sort of been in that space for a while now, trying to look at capturing that information. We've got quite a range of products now that are already existing that do it. So we've got the LPA stuff, we've got information about animal welfare. We really are at the cutting edge of what we're doing. But we've also got some other projects to start trying to collectively manage our footprint environmentally. And that's probably the big driver at the moment for what we're doing at the moment. Everything that we've been doing in our industry at the moment, if we can capture it as a collective, we can meet the claims of the sustainability and nutritional values that the lab meat stuff's talking about. So some of the projects that we've got going at the moment, you probably would have heard our former managers talk about being carbon neutral by 2030, after we all got off the floor and when he left the building. It's a big task, but it's actually a really good story. This will turn the activists and other people ahead. If we can achieve this, this is a game changer for us. The thing that I like about what we can do with this C30 work that we're doing, we have the opportunity to really start focusing on the stuff that we're doing, so looking at healthy pastures and things like that, but bringing in some more stuff. But the focus in the next 20 years, or the next 10 years coming into the C30 period, we've got a cracker opportunity to really grow the pasture industry, the soil carbon components of what we do, and really start to benchmark what we're doing well and communicating it to the consumer. Some of you might have also heard of the Australian Beef Sustainability Framework. This is an industry-wide tool that's to define what we see as Australian sustainability model for our industry. And there's soon to be a sheep one that's going to follow very closely. This sets out parameters of what we need to do, and everything that we do within our industry, whether it's at a state level or at an MO level, we're trying to coordinate the information that's coming out of participation and our industry reporting back in, so we can demonstrate that what we're doing is exceeding what's actually needed by these frameworks. So at the moment we're into the second reporting phase of the beef one, and the sheep sustainability framework will be underway in the next 6 months. Now the final bit, just my second last slide, is about my part in it. We're providing training and coaching and resources that are available to help you guys implement the best stuff on ground. We might have some new research, we've got coaching products and stuff that goes to help explore that, demonstrate it and things like that. I won't go into too much detail today, but as I said, I'm here for the day I'm happy to talk about some of those opportunities. But being in this group, as was mentioned in the introduction, this is a strong supporter of some of those demonstrations and a good provider of information back to the industry. So I see a good relationship going ahead, reporting into that. Now the final product we've got is what we're doing back out with our information. All this stuff that we collect for C30 and sustainability frameworks and our research, basically that's good for helping us be more productive and sorting out our best options. But we collate that into another product called Good Meat, and this is basically a community-facing one that dispels some of the myths, and we dispel some of the myths. See, I told you Queenslanders had trouble with this. So the idea into this is this actually goes back out and it promotes into schools and into the market, and we use that quite regularly to promote the good messages that we've got. It's quite a new website, but it's growing all the time. We see this as a fairly major way of promoting the good work that we're doing in a considered and coordinated method. So that's the wrap up. Thank you.